any writing, I want you to listen to me first, okay? The first thing we learned about a couple weeks ago before spring break was mitosis. All right? Mitosis is the process that makes two somatic cells every time one cell divides. And this is going on throughout every cell in your whole body, okay? Those cells are diploid, meaning in a human being they'll all have 46 chromosomes, and they are genetically identical to each other. If I was to take a cell from my arm and a cell from my liver and look at the chromosomes, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference because they're genetically identical, okay? The process of mitosis has, 6 stages right there, starting with interphase. Interphase is our important phase. That's where the cell is doing cell stuff, but most importantly, that's where your chromosome replicates. So you go from having a chromosome that looks like this to a chromosome that looks like this, where this half is exactly identical to this half. All right? Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis when they split. Up here, I've drawn you a nice picture. So I start off with my cell. It's got 2 chromosomes in it. In prophase, they replicate so they look like 2 X's. In metaphase, they line up in the middle, and this half becomes separated from this half into 2 different cells. So I get 2 cells that are genetically identical to the cell that I started off with. Make sense? Yeah? All right, draw that, please. Just that half of the board. Do not draw this half yet. Can you talk about meiosis? Okay, so meiosis is the other process our bodies do. It might be more important than mitosis because without meiosis, you would not be here today. So ladies, inside your ovaries, you have specialized cells whose job is to only make egg cells. And you were born with all the egg cells you will ever need, okay? And Mr. Franta and I calculated it's about 400 egg cells. So from the day that you first get your period, that's when you release your first egg cell, until you go through menopause, that's when you've all run out of all the egg cells that your body has ever made for you. Okay, about 400 of them. Menopause is the time when some of your moms or aunts might be going through it, where they get hot flashes all the time, and they drive in the winter with the windows rolled down, and sometimes they're a little cranky, like my mom was. Okay, but we are already born with all of the egg cells we'll ever need. Our bodies have already finished meiosis. We don't do meiosis anymore. Okay, gentlemen, your bodies have been doing meiosis since the day you were born, and they will do meiosis until the day you die. You will make sperm from then until the day that you are dead in the ground, and that means that you can be a dad at any time, any place, as long as you have somebody to have babies with.
Yeah. I have one friend that I think her dad just celebrated his 93rd birthday. She's my age. She's about 34. Okay. So basically, if you do the math, I don't know what the story was, but he was in his early 60s when he
Yep. So it is possible. So meiosis is happening in boys probably as we speak, to be quite honest with you, okay? Meiosis is special. Yeah, Max.
Haven't we actually been doing meiosis like through puberty? Because you can't produce that like when you're born.
I have to check on that. Or I know
Yeah, so would I. I was just always, I never thought of it like that. I think puberty is when you're able to actually use any reproductive organs for their intended purpose.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Doesn't mean you're not making it. But puberty is like when you are turning into an adult, I guess you could say. So meiosis is special, and it's different from mitosis. Mitosis makes 2 cells, meiosis makes 4. Mitosis makes somatic cells, meiosis makes gametes. Mitosis makes diploid cells with 46 chromosomes. Meiosis makes haploid cells with 23, which makes sense because 23 chromosomes in a sperm meets with 23 chromosomes in an egg, and they make a baby with how many? 46, and that's what we want. And finally, they make genetically different cells. No 2 sperm and no 2 egg are going to have the same genetic makeup. And that's good, because it means you don't look like your brothers or your sisters or your moms or your dads.
you see those like extended family pictures where it's like 4 family members standing next to each other. Usually you'll have a couple that look similar, but then you'll have one that looks more like the other parent. Okay.
Similar but not identical, that's the key.
Or like my niece and nephew, they're twins. My niece looks a lot like her mother. My nephew looks just like his dad. Okay. Does not look like he could possibly come from my side of the family. Okay.
My boyfriend's family, him and his oldest brother, look exactly like their dad, and his middle brother looks exactly like their mom.
And if you're a Kardashian, you still look like a Kardashian.
Yes, and if you're a Kardashian, you still look like a Kardashian.
But you notice like they're,
even if you're a Kardashian West, you still look like a Kardashian.
Yeah.
So here's my picture. So you start off with a cell like this. Remember, these are called homologous chromosomes, meaning they have the same genes on them from dad and from mom. Max, can you come up here? Max and I are homologous chromosomes, okay? We have the same, or we have similar genes. My gene for a shirt is this striped sweater. His gene is a gray t-shirt. My gene for pants are these maroon-colored straight-leg jeans. His are khakis. My gene for shoes are these black flats. His are these white Vans, okay? We are homologous chromosomes. The same types of genes, shirt, pants, and shoes, different variations, okay? So homologous. If we were to do crossing over, what would happen is first we'd have to replicate, so we'd look like this. Okay? And then perhaps I would take off my left shoe and Max would take off his right shoe and we would switch. We're not going to do that. Okay? So then this half of me would look different from this half, and both of these halves would look different than Max's halves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Crossing over in homologous chromosomes? Awesome. Thank you, Max. Okay. Meiosis 1 separates my sister or my homologous chromosomes. So after meiosis 1, Max would end up in one cell, I would end up in another cell. And after meiosis 2, this half of me would end up in a cell, and this half of me would end up in a cell, and Max's left would end up in a cell, a third cell, and his right would end up in a fourth cell. 4 absolutely different genetic variations. Cool?
Cool.
I have one more thing I want to add to this. Keep adding things every class period, okay?
Just imagine what it'll look like tonight. She's already done it like 30 different times.
Spermatogenesis makes 4 sperm. Oogenesis makes 1 giant egg and 3 polar bodies. Basically what happens is my 1 egg sucks all the cytoplasm out of the other 3, and they become shriveled nothingness that can't be used. So they die, and we're left with 1 egg. And as Mr. Franta explained earlier, the egg is so much bigger than the sperm because it has to contain all of the extra stuff, cytoplasm, proteins, organelles, that are going to be needed when we first start making a zygote or a baby. And a zygote is what happens when egg meets sperm. The very first thing you get is a little zygote before it's even a fetus. It's 1 cell. Okay? And then it turns into a blastula, which is made of like 8 cells.
Yeah, when does it actually connect with the uterus? You know, form the umbilical cord?
Oh, I don't know when that is. I just know that, interestingly enough, your butt forms first and your head forms last. You form from the bottom side up.
Well, that's kind of
So your intestines and everything else first, and then your head comes last.
But basically what we're saying is like, I think it's like that first week, first couple days, you're basically a couple cells and you're kind of bouncing around, okay? And then when you actually kind of like connect to the cell wall, in the uterus, then that's when I think you start to form the umbilical cord, and then your mom will start feeding you. So basically you need that material to survive for that first couple days. Okay.
Make sense? So far. You pretty much just learned meiosis. Now we're going to go through some actual notes. I know, we have more. We have like